What's good, y'all? RCA the Great here with the first episode of RCA's roster reviews, highly requested video where I'm going to be talking about different ways to build your team. And you guys sent in your teams to my Twitter. We're going to be just checking out your team, seeing who I will put where, what freelancers and different plays I would run, how I would build the strategy around the team. And we're just going to start off utilizing my team to show you how I build up different lineups. But let's get right into the video. Let's go. If you're looking for safe and reliable grinding services, hit up Cliff2_3 on Twitter. Alright, y'all, so before we get started with the video, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe if you have not yet. I am currently on the road to 13,000 subscribers, and I would truly appreciate it. If you appreciate the videos, just hit that like button, hit the subscribe. It's free to do, but let's get into it. Starting off with my main squad, I do have Gary Payton, Jaylen Brown, Carmelo Anthony, Dolph Hayes, and Anthony Davis as my starters. And I like to run this squad in certain situations. It's more offensive heavy. Gary Payton is my lockdown defender, but I also have a nice wing defender in Jaylen Brown. I always like to have a sharpshooter out there. Even though I do run plays, I don't rely on pick and roll that much. Having somebody like Melo out there is great to be able to shoot. We got Dolph Hayes and Anthony Davis, both that can shoot, but also punish you in the post if you're running a small ball style. So if you're running small ball and I see any kind of mismatch, I can post you up with Dolph, Anthony Davis, Gary Payton, and sometimes Carmelo Anthony if you put your point guard on him. And I have done that in some competitive games, which we'll see later on in some gameplays in my future videos. My bench, we got Jason Terry, ML Carr, Paul Silas, Chris Webber, Josh Smith, James Harden, Chris Mullin, and Will Chamberlain. So many different ways I can use this lineup. We're not going to talk about it entirely because I want to get to your lineups first. But that's one of my teams. But let me show you one of my other lineups. So when I'm running my 1-3-1 defense, I just like to have the lineup already set. And we go ahead and we have Gary Payton, Jaylen Brown, ML Carr, Paul Silas, and Josh Smith. As you can see, way different than the starters that I started off with because it's a different style of play. I'm looking to get more steals. I'm looking to be more aggressive on defense. I'm not too worried about shooting the ball because we're scoring more in the fast break style. So you can have the same team and play two different styles by just changing who you have as your starters and changing your mindset when you go out there. So this team is pressing. We're in zones. We're switching all around, trying to get steals as fast as possible, and we're scoring on the fast break. We're not relying on half-court offense. My other starters were relying more on the half-court offense to score, playing more of a balanced defensive style. So hopefully that makes sense. But let's get into your teams. Let's talk about different playbooks we can use and things like that. As you guys know, I break down many playbooks and freelancers. Check those out. I'll leave some in the link in the descriptions. But let's get right into your squad, starting off with the first one. All right, y'all. So the first squad we're going to look at comes from my guy Mossy on Twitter. He plays on Xbox, but he is currently running Gary Payton, Chris Mullin, Carmelo Anthony, Jerry Lucas, and DeAndre Jordan as his starters. As the bench, he has Louis Dampier, Devin Booker, Glenn Robinson, Gus Gerard, Draymond Green, James Harden, Marcus Johnson, and Darrell Griffith. Now, as you can see, these are all reward cards. He is no money spent. He likes to grind and utilize reward cards as his competitive squad. Nothing wrong with that because as you can see, he has gotten Gary Payton, so he does a fairly good job at winning games. He does have a fairly good offensive balance on his team. He has Chris Mullin and Carmelo Anthony as his nice sharpshooters. Also, Jerry Lucas can hit from deep. And DeAndre Jordan is a very good inside center. If you're good at playing with inside centers, that is completely fine. Now, he does lack a little bit of speed on the wing with the Chris Mullin and Carmelo. Although Carmelo is pretty decent overall, pretty much the best card in the game to me, in my opinion, for overall what he can do. Little bit less speed on the wing. So if you're coming up against a fast team, you may struggle there. But if you're shooting the ball well, you're going to be fine. I would not change much of anything with this starting lineup if it's working for you. I do believe that Jerry Lucas is going to be a little bit outdated as we get further in the game. And DeAndre Jordan just gives you a little bit less because he is a non-shooting center. But if you're good at setting screens and allowing him to do what he does inside, he's going to give you great defensive presence. And he's going to be able to grab boards better than a lot of the other centers in the game. So he is not a bad card to run at all. If you are going to be running any kind of playbooks, I do recommend for this team to run the Trailblazers playbook that I've covered. You're going to be able to run something like the Heat 2013 playbook. You're also going to be able to run something like the Pistons playbook. And the reason why I say this is because you have a lot of ball screen actions and a lot of off-ball screen actions that allow DeAndre Jordan to be able to do what he does, but not be a liability on the offensive end because he is not going to be standing on the perimeter where somebody can just off-ball him. Also, the Bulls playbook would be good with this because they have a lot of off-ball screens where if the center cheats off, there's going to be somebody else open off of a screen that DeAndre Jordan is setting. So when you're running plays when a non-shooting center on the court, you always have to remember that you have to be accountable for somebody that's going to be off-balling and just trying to play lanes with that. As far as freelance, I would go 4 out 1 in or Hawks 2018 and run pick and roll with DeAndre Jordan if we're more on a freelance style. And I will be running the offense through Carmelo Anthony with this squad. Gary Payton's going to be my lockdown defender. He's going to be on ball. Chris Mullin is most likely going to be on somebody a little bit slower. Somebody like or somebody that's not going to score very much, like an ML Carr. Somebody like possibly the other person's Gary Payton or Paul Silas or something like that. But I wouldn't have him on somebody that's really going to be rim running or going to the rim because he's a little bit slower. So getting that quick first step, you might get past Chris Mullin, and that might lead to some disruptions in your defense. Jerry Lucas is fine to defend the power forward, but I would not put him on a big center or have any kind of switch situation because he's going to get mashed inside. DeAndre Jordan is going to do just fine against any center, but it's not going to be very one perimeter. So overall, your starters are fine. Getting into Lou Dampier, he does have Hall of Fame mismatch expert, so if you are a good shooter, you're going to be able to score with him pretty well. Devin Booker is also a nice shooter, but what I am not seeing on your bench is a good defender, somebody that can lock down on your bench. So when your bench comes in, who is getting the stops? That's the only thing that I don't see very good on your bench. You could put James Harden in as your shooting guard, but his defense is decent. It's not like locked down. So somebody that I would look to go get for your bench, if you could, if you have enough tokens to pick up a Walt Frazier to put at the end of your bench, that would be good. Even somebody like Paul Silas, if you were able to pick him up, I know you're too late for ML Carr, but if you can get somebody like Paul Silas, that will be awesome. I know you have to play triple threat online for him. He doesn't show up that much, but you definitely need somebody on your bench that's going to be able to have some lockdown defensive presence. And you're going to need another center because Draymond Green is starting to get too small. With the way you can get mashed in this game this year, I do not think Draymond Green is going to give you the best bang for your buck inside, although he can shoot and he can play pretty decent defense. When you come against guys using Mutombo, Wilt Chamberlain, and things like that, he is not going to stand a chance. I do not think we have many centers that are free right now that you can go ahead and grab. I know you are no money spent, but you should definitely pick you up another center. Even if you put somebody like Mitchell Robinson out there, I think that would be better than having Marcus Johnson there. Just put Mitchell Robinson just in case somebody's mashing you inside. Then you're able to have a bigger presence down low. The reason why I say Mitchell Robinson is because he's not that many tokens. I do see you have 306, but you are probably saving up. You don't want to pick up a Brad Daughtry or a Mark Eaton because that's kind of a waste of tokens right now when we probably have better pink diamonds coming out. So save those tokens, get yourself Mitchell Robinson, and you should be fairly decent. I don't want to make too many changes with your team because you are winning. You do have Gary Payton, and I think your team is completely fine. Nice job with what you're doing. Let's move on to the second team. Moving on to the second team, we have OTD Andre. Hit me up on Twitter as well, and his team consists of Ron Boone, Donovan Mitchell, Bruce Bowen, Andre Karolinko, Kristaps Porzingis. Nice starting five. Then we got Jason Terry, James Harden, Chris Mullin, Josh Smith, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Ruby Derrick Rose, who is a rim running beast on the bench. Starting off with the starters, I like the balance. Ron Boone does have great defense. Bruce Bowen, as you know, is a lock. Karolinko is a lock. Then you have Donovan Mitchell and Kristaps Porzingis, who are there for mostly offense, but Donovan Mitchell is a great defensive player as well. The only thing I'm noticing is that your guards are small. We are starting to get bigger guards out there. So you both have 6'2". I think Ron Boone is at most 6'3". Donovan Mitchell is 6'1". But Bruce Bowen can be your lock. But once Bruce Bowen is defending whoever their best player is, you got to think about who's Donovan Mitchell going to be on, who's Ron Boone going to be on. Are they going to get posted up? Are they going to get mashed inside? If you're playing against my team, I have Jaylen Brown and Gary Payton. I don't know who you're going to put Bruce Bowen on, but let's say you put Bruce Bowen on Jaylen Brown. Who is guarding Carmelo Anthony? So now I'm going to post your Boone up or your Donovan Mitchell up with Carmelo Anthony, and I'm going to most likely score replay. If you have Bruce Bowen on Carmelo Anthony, then one of those guys has to guard Jaylen Brown, and they're still too small. He's 6'6", so he's probably going to be able to get easy buckets inside. Not saying that's going to happen every single play, but if you play somebody that does that, just be cognizant that that may happen. Andre Karolinko is obviously amazing. You're going to be able to put him on anybody as well, but you're going to want him on somebody bigger because the rest of your team is small. Kristaps Porzingis is going to be able to hold his own inside, but he is laterally a little bit slower. So if you're playing against somebody that likes to run pick and roll a lot, I would definitely have Andre Karolinko possibly guarding that pick and roll situation if you could. So Kristaps is not really caught out there on an island, kind of how I did with Jokic. Now, offensively, you have a lot of powerful cards out there. Everybody can shoot from deep. So I will be running the Rockets playbook, and I'll be running the ball with Donovan Mitchell or Ron Boone, as they're both very quick. The Rockets playbook has a lot of ball screen actions, but it also has a lot of fade actions with your center. Be able to fake like you're getting some ball screens and your center is going to fade out. You have a lot of pick and roll actions that can turn into fades. The Rockets is perfect for this team the way your starters are set up, because you can get Mitchell and Boone inside and outside while Kristaps is running screens to get yourself some fades to keep the defense honest and not being able to just sag in the paint against you. Now, defensively, you're looking good, like I said. The only thing, like I said, with Kristaps Porzingis, laterally, he's a little bit slower, and then you're a little bit small. So let's move to the bench. Jason Terry, James Harden, Chris Mullin, Josh Smith, and LaMarcus Aldridge. I'm liking it. Everybody can shoot pretty well besides Josh Smith. If you're good with his shot, he can hit. But if you're not too good with his shot, it's very difficult to get him to hit consistently. What I'll be doing is I'll be running pick and roll with James Harden or Jason Terry, but I would have Josh Smith be the pick and roll man. So LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be your set shooter. If you want to run pick and pop, you can also do that and have LaMarcus Aldridge pop in, and then Josh Smith kind of standing in the corner if you need to do that, if you're better shooting him that way. But if it's a roll situation, have Josh Smith roll into the basket to force the defense to crash on him. And then you can have Jason Terry and James Harden saucing up trying to get some deep threes. Now, Jason Terry is one of my favorite cards to shoot within this game. He has so many good badges that enables him to be able to hit tough shots against bigger players. Like that Hall of Fame mismatch expert in his shot is very good for that badge. So if you get a bigger somebody like Kristaps on you on the switch, you can still shoot those shots and be able to hit those. So I will be definitely running my offense through Jason or James Harden, having Chris Mullin out there as a dead eye just in case anybody cheats over, LaMarcus Aldridge standing and ready to shoot, and then obviously having your Josh Smith ready to go on the pick and roll. And defensively, Josh Smith is going to be your best defender out there. James Harden is not bad. Jason Terry is kind of going to get exposed unless you have some good badges on him. If you badge him up with menace, clamps, interceptor, intimidator, he's going to be more than fine defensively against most players that are not going to try to abuse you. Have Josh Smith guarding the pick and roll to help him out a little bit, or you can even have James Harden guard the ball to have a little bit of a taller guy out there. Now, Chris Mullin, he is a great defender, but he's just a little bit slow, like I said before. And then you have your Derrick Rose, who, if you needed to put in with your starting lineup, might actually work better than Ron Boone, because Derrick Rose does attack the basket so well. The only thing he can't do that well is shoot as well as Ron Boone, but you got Kristaps and Andre Karolinko out there shooting. You might want Derrick Rose attacking the basket, and then you can have Ron Boone come off your bench with James Harden to add more defense and bring Jason Terry in if you need more sharpshooting. You can also use that. Always mess around with your cards in different ways. You don't have to go with one style every single time you go out there. But I do like this team overall. Wouldn't make many changes to it at all. You only have 9,000 MT. You're more than fine. I think you would be able to get yourself Gary Payton with this squad if you do use them in the right way. Nice job building your squad. I hope you keep doing well with it. All right, the next squad up we have is Black Star Zai. He said he needs help picking a playbook. He likes the Blazers, Bucks, or Heat 13. Thinking of upgrading Kawhi for AK-47 and get another center to replace KP. He likes to score with Curry and Terry, and he used JB and Harden as his lock. So overall, I do like your squad. I like having Kawhi out there with lockdown defense. If you need to save MT, keeping him instead of getting AK-47 is completely fine, because they do play rather similar. Although AK is going to give you a little bit better interior defense, and he's going to have some upgraded badges that Kawhi does not have. But if you're not really worried about that stuff, keeping Kawhi Leonard is more than fine to save yourself some MT right now. But the upgrade is definitely worth it if you do it. Now, Stephen Curry, Jaylen Brown, Kawhi Leonard, Carmelo Anthony, and Dikembe Mutombo. I like this very much. Looking at your small forward and power forward, I do notice it is more of a small ball situation. So if you're playing against somebody like me, let's say I'm running AD at power forward and Jokic at center. I would just be able to post up your Carmelo Anthony every single play with AD, and my AD would possibly be able to defend your Carmelo Anthony. So, not saying it's going to happen all the time, but if you run into somebody that does that, knowing when you play small ball, it can happen, and people are just going to say they're mashing, but it is just utilizing the strategy at that time. Stephen Curry is obviously an offensive juggernaut. He does have high steal, but defensively, he is also somebody that does get abused and targeted inside, although his offense makes up for it 100%. You did say you were looking for a playbook to use. I would highly recommend the Blazers playbook. You said you liked it. Heat 13 also is very good if you don't allow the plays to get too baited. People understand the Heat 13 playbook very much because it's been used so many years. If you know how to mask the plays, it's one of the best playbooks in the game. The three-point plays in that playbook are literally unmatched, but you have to be able to mask them. Now, Blazers playbook. Lots of pick and roll action, lots of double screens to get Curry out there. They're going to be rushing out over those double screens, trying to fight over the screens, and you're going to have people open on fades and rolls. So I think that playbook is going to be able to work well. Plus, having Melo at your power forward, you can initiate plays through him. So you'll be able to utilize some three-point plays and double screen plays through Melo, and he has a power forward on him. So that's going to create a situation where it might be a slower player on them, unless he has somebody like Josh Smith or something like that on your Melo. But definitely recommend Blazers. Second will be Heat 13 with this playbook. Dikembe Mutombo is still a phenomenal card. If you know how to shoot with him, he is still one of the top centers in the game. Jaylen Brown is one of my favorite cards in the game. He can literally just do everything. So there is literally nothing wrong with your starters. The only thing I would add, I do not see any point guard out there on your entire team that can literally just come in and lock down. Let's say you are up by 4 points with 10 seconds left. You don't want to give up a three. You kind of just want to take Stephen Curry out the game for a little bit. Who are you going to put in? You know, you could have somebody like Walt Frazier. You can have Drew Holiday. You can have somebody else on the end of your bench to take Stephen Curry out, plug a defender in, and now you have 5 cards on the court that can defend everybody, and you don't have to worry about somebody being abused because you're not trying to give up any points. That's just how I would do it. You don't have to use it like that, but always have that one player at the end of your bench that you can throw in and complete your entire team. I hope that makes sense. Now, moving on to the bench, we got Jason Terry, James Harden, Chris Mullin, Josh Smith, Kristaps, DeJounte. Now, that Murray card, I'll take that back. You have DeJounte Murray. He is very good, so you could throw him in there, and he is a big body. So everything I just said about not having another guard, I forgot he is one of the great amethyst cards. So you do have somebody. Then we got Dale Ellis and Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman, you can kind of get rid of. I would sell him. He was very good for about 3 days. He still is good. But to be honest, there's other cards that are kind of better at this stage. They may cost a lot more MT, though. So if you want to keep him, that's fine. Upgrading your Kristaps Porzingis. Not sure who you want to replace him with, but somebody like Miles Turner is going to be good because he's going to give you the same style shooting that Kristaps has, but he's going to have better interior defense, and he's going to move a little bit better on the perimeter. It's completely up to you because Kristaps is 7'3", so he is not bad at all, but he is starting to get to a point where he's just too slow to keep up. Same thing I said with the last team. Your Josh Smith at power forward is actually pretty cool. Being able to run pick and roll with him, but also having him anchor your defense is going to be great. You just don't have somebody on your bench that is a super lockdown defender. I would definitely add somebody or bring Jaylen Brown or Kawhi down to the bench and then have one of the other guys like Mullin start because you do have a pretty good defensive starting lineup with Melo, Jaylen Brown, Dikembe Mutombo out there. So bringing some more defense off your bench could be good unless you like to run like a more offensive defensive style of play. Overall, I like the squad. You do have 203 tokens. I don't know if I would use those right now because we may have some better cards coming out. And there is nobody from the token market that I would throw on your team that would just make you that much better. So definitely save those tokens up. You do look like you said you wanted to add that AK-47. I would also hold off on that unless you're going to be putting him on your bench. So if you're going to upgrade AK-47, what I will be doing is I would take Kristaps out, put AK-47 as your backup power forward, move Josh Smith to your backup center, and now your bench is way more elite defensively and it fills out your team a little bit more. So that's what I would do with this squad. Once again, Heat 2013 playbook or the Blazers playbook would be dope. All right, our fourth team is a little bit different than everybody else's, which is cool, and it comes from Corey Yark on Twitter. He says he has a very defensive-minded team, and he has about 250K in auction. So look who he has. We got Drew Holiday, Donovan Mitchell, Bruce Bowen, Kawhi Leonard, and Ben Wallace. Very, very small team. 6'9" Ben Wallace, 6'7" Kawhi, 6'6" Bruce Bowen, 6'1" Donovan Mitchell, and about 6'2", 6'1" Drew Holiday. Now this squad is very small, so they do have to be gritty. They are not going to get bullied, but there's going to be certain situations where Donovan Mitchell becomes too small out there against certain guards, and then Kawhi Leonard against anybody that runs a big power forward is going to be tough unless they put the ball on the ground and he can get a steal. But overall, if you're running a fast-paced, in-your-face style defense, this team can definitely hold its own. He said he does run the pace freelance in Heat 2013 playbook, which is more than fine because he does have a non-shooting center on the court, so being able to set some screens off ball is going to be able to utilize Ben Wallace in a way that keeps the defender from being too off-bally and staying in the paint. You don't want Ben Wallace just standing unless you're running some kind of pick-and-roll situation with him diving to the basket. Overall, I would definitely be running your offense. If you are running a pick-and-roll style offense, run it through Donovan Mitchell because he does have very good ball handling. He can shoot the ball very well. He can attack the basket. And then you'll have Drew Holiday, Bruce Bowen, and Kawhi Leonard out there for some set shots. But you have to make sure Ben Wallace is diving to the basket on pick and rolls because he is not going to be able to hit any shots outside. And that's fairly obvious. I'm sure you know that. Moving down to the bench. Actually, let's keep it there. Bruce Bowen, Kawhi Leonard, or Drew Holiday can defend the point guard. That's totally up to you. If you have a rim running point guard, I'm putting Kawhi Leonard on the point guard so that he can have more of that inside presence. But then you got to think about who's guarding the power forward. So you got if they have a small power forward, that's okay to have Kawhi Leonard on the point guard. If they have a big power forward, I want to make sure I have Bruce Bowen on the point guard. But make sure you have a rim running style defender against a rim running point guard, if that makes sense. Somebody that can block dunks and get some contests inside. Now, Drew Holiday and Donovan Mitchell are going to be better to defend those guys that like to go around screens. I'm going to be putting Drew Holiday or Bruce Bowen on somebody that likes to go around screens a lot more. And then somebody that's more off ball, kind of like a James Harden style player. If they're not running the ball through him, I would have Donovan Mitchell on. Somebody that's pretty good offensively, but they're not going to be the focus of the offense because Donovan Mitchell isn't your best defender out there, but he is a pretty good defender. You just don't want him to be getting abused on any kind of inside matchups unless he's getting a chase down block because he does get those very, very much in this game. Now, moving down to the bench, we got Kyrie, James Harden, Glenn Robinson, Ibaka, and Karl Anthony Towns. You also have Gus Gerard, Jokic, and Fred Brown out there. So you can do a lot of different things with this if you wanted to. I do not think I would run the Karl Anthony Towns, but if you like him, go ahead and keep running him. To me, I would rather run Jokic than Cat just because defensively, they're kind of going to give you the same thing. But Jokic has the Hall of Fame bullet passer. He does handle the ball better, and I like his shot a little bit better than Cat's, and he gets better badges for that. So that's just my opinion. If you want to be a little bit faster on defense, you can put Gus at the power forward position. Then you can move Ibaka to center. Then you get a little bit quicker out there at your power forward spot because Ibaka's speed is pretty lacking. So if he has to defend somebody like LeBron James out there, it's going to be very difficult in any kind of 5-out situation for him to stay with them because he does have rather low speed in the game right now. Or you can move Gus to small forward and then move Glenn up to power forward because Glenn does have some pretty good inside defense. So there's a lot of mix and match you can do with this team. Fred Brown, to me, is a better defender than Kyrie, so you can place him there instead of Kyrie. You did say you're going to be going to get that Walt Frazier, which would definitely fill out your bench a lot better defensively. Then you can run James Harden, run the ball through him, have him run some pick and roll, and run your Heat 2013 playbook, which actually works very well with your bench as well because they do have plays that Cat can get out and shoot, that Jokic can get out and shoot. Overall, the team is fairly balanced. I do think you need more of a lockdown defender to come off your bench. So you do have room to move Glenn Robinson to your starting power forward spot and then move Kawhi Leonard down to your backup small forward spot, which allows you to now have a good lockdown defender coming off your bench until you get your Walt. And then you still have a great defensive team because Glenn Robinson is going to be able to defend the inside power forwards just as well as Kawhi was going to be able to, and he gives you some good shooting out there. So interchanging those two gives you a lock on your defensive end for the bench, but still doesn't make you lose a step at all for your starters. So that's just what I would do with that squad. Overall, I do think you're doing a good job with it. Continue to build up your tokens so you can get that wall. But you don't have to be in a rush to get wall. I do think I would hold off a little bit and see what else comes out, because we do have some other point guards like Dejounte Murray that you can add to your squad without using your tokens, and see what we get in the PD market in the coming weeks or possibly next season, depending on how fast you get tokens. But let's move on to the fifth team. All right, the fifth squad we have is from a man DSM Pepto, and he is running Allen Iverson, Mitch Richmond, Carmelo Anthony, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Joel Embiid. And the first thing I think of when I see this front court is slow. Literally molasses out there. LaMarcus Aldridge and Joel Embiid are both very slow out there. So if you go up against guys that like to run around, you're going to have a good time. Now, your inside defense and your rebounding is going to be good, and you're going to be able to hit the three. But I definitely do think you need some more speed out there. But if you're going to use the team how it is, I think you can pretty much run any playbook, because there's a lot of inside and outside presence. If you want to run freelances, I do recommend having some kind of 4-out-1 in if you're running against a smaller center to let Joel Embiid work inside. Or you can run the Hawks, run some kind of pick and roll with some 5-out spacing. There's some other freelancers like flow and pace that also get your shooters off ball open, because you have Mitch Richmond and Carmelo Anthony running out there, and they're going to be able to get some shots easily off screens off of those. As far as playbook, Rockets would be nice because Embiid can hit a lot of fades, and so can LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, like, not post fades, but like pick and fade shots. Then you can also have something like the Trailblazers, Pistons, double screen actions going on. And there's also playbooks like the Warriors or the Knicks that do have a lot of off-ball screen actions to get your three-point shooters open. So it all depends on you. I've covered a lot of playbooks in my YouTube videos. Check them out. But you have a lot of shooters out there. You get some players open to shoot, you're going to be able to hit those, because none of those guys are really going to miss, besides possibly Embiid, because he has one of the difficult releases in the game at his height. Now, looking at the bench, you got Sleepy Floyd, James Harden, TJ Warren, Blake Griffin, and Daughtry. Now, your bench is a little bit more outdated, I will say. So what I will be doing if I was going to change around this team, I'm going to be selling Joel Embiid. And I'm going to get that 100K MT that I can get for him right now, because he is possibly going to dip. I'm just going to pick up a Josh Smith. Get him for like 20K MT. Put him at your power forward starting position, and then move LaMarcus Aldridge to your center. Or you can put LaMarcus Aldridge at power forward and have Josh Smith at center. Now you have a faster player in there to help you on defense, and you have some extra MT to work with. Let's say you have like 70K MT. You can now go pick up some more players to add to your team if you needed to. You could get yourself different small forwards in the game that are pretty good. There's guys like Kawhi out there that'll be able to help you, and he is not going for very much, probably less than 30K MT. And you'd be able to put Kawhi Leonard on your bench instead of the TJ Warren, and you would be also able to get yourself another power forward for your bench instead of the Blake Griffin, because he is starting to get a little bit more outdated. Somebody a little bit better, like, let's say, a Dennis Rodman. That may not be your play style, though, because Blake Griffin does handle the ball and dunk the ball better. But if you're looking for a better defender, Dennis Rodman may be able to help, and you can keep Blake Griffin out there instead of Kelly Tripucka if you needed more offense. And then you still have some extra MT to work with. So that's exactly what I will be doing with this squad. Sleepy Floyd and Allen Iverson, to me, don't have the greatest defense, and you don't have a lockdown defender at all on your team. So definitely go pick up that Kawhi if you can. They also have a Drew Holiday out there that you can go pick up if you need somebody to help lock down on defense. He's going to be going for like 20K MT or less. So by selling Joel Embiid, you're able to add so much more to your team. And picking up Josh Smith is going to give you some of the same things that Joel Embiid gives you besides the post scoring. So hopefully that makes sense. I do like the squad overall. Brad Daughtry is still pretty good as well, although he is going to start getting a little bit more outdated just due to the speed as well. As cards get faster, it just becomes difficult to keep up with players running around and running pick and roll as often as they do in this game. So definitely start looking more at your speed. Swapping out DeAndre Jordan might help you a lot with the Brad Daughtry, but Brad has a better shot from the mid-range, of course, and he does pass better. So overall, again, speed with this team at the front court positions. You got to be able to get some more speed out there to help you on defense. Playing triple threat online may help you out as well. Go ahead and get that Paul Silas. If he pops up on the board for you, he will give you a huge boost at your small forward and power forward position, and he will help your team a ton if you're able to get him. So hopefully that makes sense. Overall, I do like the squad. I would run the squad. I'll probably run it a little bit different way, the ways that I just explained, but it's not a bad squad at all. You can definitely win games as long as your strategy is right with this squad. But guys, that's going to be the last team we cover. I'm going to do more of these as we go. I wanted to cover more teams, but I kind of got so in depth with the explanations that I kind of ran over time, and I don't want the video to be an hour long. So we are going to put this out on Twitter again, and I'm going to start making this a little bit faster. Let me know in the comments what I can take out, what you'd like me to add into there. Should I talk about the coaches, what shoes you put on players, all that kind of stuff. How fast should I be going through these teams? That way we can get these out and I can get more of your teams covered. We did 5 today. I'm looking to get to like 8 to 10 teams every time we do these videos. So I'm going to have to speed it up a little bit. Hopefully you understand, but we will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, man. Peace.